I am Ann-Peggy Divine. Welcome to the Divine Design, the podcast where we unfold heaven on earth and reframe spirituality and theology for a new cosmic era. Your journey on human evolution and integration of your divine design starts here. Then I lined up with you, Santari.
Yes, let's line up together for this podcast. So let me ask you the question. What does that do for you? What does this process of alignment assist you with or help you in any way?
I feel you. And I felt the energy like, wow, just emanate, just embody the power, knowing who you are. So I love lining up with people, but when we do it in a group, then it's so much, but it's powerful when we are in the group we are together in. But now when we are just two, I love this even more because then it's more specific. I can go directly into you, not into a complete group. And it's like, I know who I am.
Mm. Oh, I will say that I've been doing this for a long time with my wife, Solera, and we've been leading workshops and teleclasses. We always start with the moment of intention and alignment, because that sets, I would say, the scene for everything to follow. Because if you have a lot of people in a group and they're all in various places, let's say, and some people come up with, they're in a state of despair, despondency, or anger, or some other emotional turmoil, then sometimes it takes time to actually get them to integrate into the group dynamic in a way that helps everybody together. Otherwise, there's little bits of strife and disconcertment happening. So this process of alignment, I think, is very important, because we're not saying we're individuals coming together trying to get something to happen. We are a group dynamic. We park the identities, if there are any identities, to one side and allow something greater to come through. And that, I think, is always the prime purpose for me. What are we here for in this world? We're here for something amazing. That's where I start from. And I wrote a book called The Way of Dragons. And at the very beginning, I'm talking about this is an age of greatness. Perhaps it's a good point for me to read to you from the introduction to that book.
Yes.
Because again, it's about setting the scene for something amazing to happen.
Yeah, please do.
We sense that we are attuned to something far vaster than any perception or belief. We sense that we resonate with something that internally instructs and guides us, that tells us that each one of us is unique and precious, and that we are here to explore our infinite greatness together. What we will create together is undetermined, but it is a grand adventure that we will not want to miss any part of.
I agree.
So you see, that immediately sets the tone for something.
Woohoo! Yeah.
We're not talking about our problems, if they exist, or perceptions or beliefs. We're talking about something which is perhaps for some people in the far distance, in the future, but we're talking about it as if it is coming into the present now, that it's tangible, that it's realizable, that it's attainable, that it exists, and that we know it exists because we're actually conversing with it. And when I say conversing with it, I'm not, saying that we're hearing words in our head. I'm saying that energetically, we are conversing. Just as we are on this call together, and you said, Whoa, I felt something. What did you feel? You felt energy. You felt excited.
Yeah.
You felt that you were perhaps in a different space than when we started the call. But something happened.
Yeah.
Something that's undeniable. Something that you just feel lights you up. And from that point, you can really do tremendous things with people because you've called a space together in which people can feel that type of aliveness, and the words that spill out of you really are coming from that space. They're not coming from your past experience. They're in the moment something that you're feeling, which is tremendously exciting
Yeah.
and invigorating. And that's where the energy just suddenly starts to come into people's awareness that you're not talking about this or that or that. You're talking about something which just spills into everything.
Mm.
And you feel that not only are you a part of it, but that you can feel the orchestration of it, that something is there for you and you are there with it.
Yeah.
So do you have any questions?
I was kind of flowing with you, and I remember one of the experience you gave me and Verle and Elaine when you sang our essence into being. I will forever remember that because that was such a shift for me. You said, I will sing your essence into being, and we sat and you did it twice. First time it was like I was in heaven, it was so beautiful. And then you did it half hour later, and then I was put into a sarcophagus and I had all the information. I felt that I was God lying in the sarcophagus and a royalty. It's like, wow. And at that time, I had never heard about sarcophagus. And people, I just saw myself lying in a white coffin, and I had all knowledge, being God put in a white coffin. I thought, okay, why am I put? But I just went into the experience while you sang. And it was an experience, as you said, it's like, wow, I know everything. I'm God. I'm putting in a white coffin, and you're so, and you sang, and it was glory, and everything was just beautiful. It's like, woohoo! So, as you say, it's an experience. You take people into an experience, and you do it so amazingly with your voice, and that's kind of impressing.
Hmm. Yes, and it's not just an experience. It's something that people touch, they feel, and then it's like they start to live it, live into it,
Yeah.
become it,
Mm.
which I think is quite different from having a belief, a religious faith
Yeah.
that, at some point you're going to go to heaven. Well, we're saying in this moment, all that you perceive about heaven and God and religions and faiths and beliefs, etc., they're almost like it goes and something which resonates on that level and stronger and beyond that suddenly starts to infuse itself into you.
Mm.
So that's different than you have an experience or that you're channeling some amazing master. And then it's just like, and then the thing goes. You know, are no longer part of the energy. We're introducing um, a concept, let's say, that says you are it. There's
Yeah.
a constancy here. That's it. You would be very well to accept it and take it on board completely and fully, and that it is something that is now residing in you.
Yeah.
Maybe not a being, maybe not an energy, but something which is seeded and grows and becomes you. And that I think is quite a powerful experience, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I call this heaven on earth. I'm living heaven on earth. And when I found you and Solera in the beginning of 2020, my goal was to be sustainable because I've lived there and I felt that I dropped, and I lived there and I dropped. And So my goal finding you was, okay, I want to be sustainable. But just as you have said to me, the thought of being sustainable, it was kind of, okay, which step, what do I do? But the real answer was actually to even surrender even more. I had surrendered a lot, but there were still parts that I didn't surrender. So it was a surrendering. So it's like, how can you you cannot explain it?
Mm.
So it kind of totally out of the mental construct, just being heaven on earth, emanating it, knowing who you are, just knowing the totality of your life, your essence,
Mm.
kind of, as I call the divine design, the light of you. You are the light, you are the God, source, creator.
So to take you back to that moment when you were in the sarcophagus,
Yeah.
we might say a moment of rebirth
Yeah.
of sorts,
Yep.
that you were no longer who you believed you were, and you took on a different role, mantle, a sense of a change of beingness, or however we might describe it. The words don't quite adequately fit
Mm.
to the experience, but we're trying to explore something
Yeah.
which is amazingly dynamic and mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Let's put it mind-blowing, absolutely
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
It is.
So you're in the sarcophagus and you're in this moment of wonderment,
Yeah.
but you can still go back to that moment being in the sarcophagus and almost like seeing it from a different angle, a different perspective. No, you're no longer just being in the sarcophagus. You're seeing yourself changing in the sarcophagus. You're witnessing yourself and you're looking with different eyes. You had different eyes in the sarcophagus. Now you're looking at something that is transforming, changing, and being reborn, let's say.
Yeah.
Again, that's a different experience,
Yeah. It is.
but it's still got the same essence of feeling to it,
Mm.
of this I almost really can't describe it myself. But as you say, you know things which you reasonably would think you don't have any pathway to that knowledge.
Mm.
There's no experience that tells you this is what you learned from other people or from reading or from doing ceremonies and rituals. It's just like I know things.
Yeah.
Who is this that knows things? You start to inquire, you become curious, you ask questions, you want to know all sorts of different things which would allow you to live this more and to be able to talk about it to others, to explain something that changed and shifted in you, and now you want to give that experience to other people.
Yeah.
How do you give that experience to other people? Well, you have to become this experience.
Yes.
You have to become the power of the experience. You almost like have to light something inside them without telling them what it is that you're doing, or even having the intention that that's what you want to do. Something is directing all of this without having to mentally think about all the different steps that might be part of that process.
Mm.
We're not looking at 10 steps to enlightenment here. You're in the sarcophagus, you're in enlightenment, that's it. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah.
We don't know. We cannot conceive about what's happening next, but we know that something tremendously amazing is happening next because the consciousness that we are living is shifting and expanding and evolving
Mm.
and moving on to other things, to seeing what is of greater importance now in your life. So all
Mm.
the things you might have had as life purpose, perhaps all of that's gone out the window. Maybe something else is suddenly start to show itself, to demonstrate to you that you have something about you now which is just so amazingly powerful that you would never even think how you would get there in this lifetime, or that it become conceivable to for you to be this in any lifetime. That's what is on offer to everybody.
Yeah.
How do we know that? Because we've had experiences.
Yeah.
We've had experiences which shift us beyond human potential and the possibility that we might do something amazing with our lives.
Yeah.
But there's still all the criteria that we think about to measure our progress. That itself is almost like erased. It becomes of no importance.
Mm.
So we come back to the same questions again. What is important now?
Yeah.
We did an alignment. You felt an energy. You felt a thrill. You felt something change in you.
Mm.
Maybe the people listening to this podcast will have similar experiences.
Yeah.
Or maybe they all have all these thoughts that say, that sounded great, but
Yeah.
dot, dot, dot. I can't see how I can possibly live into that.
Yeah.
All the things in my life would have to change, perhaps.
Yeah.
Hmm. What about the people that, that are my family members, my workmates, etc.? How am I going to explain this to them? You don't have to. You
No,
don't have to explain it.
no, but when it happened to me, not the first time, but when I went into this divine design and it was kind of the God source of us, I said no to it because if I was this powerful, if I embrace all of this, then everything I had learned, I had to let go of everything, everything. And this was in 2015, and I wasn't ready because I had family, I had kids, and all the things. So I said no to it. And it's like, okay, so I understand why we say no, because we are a part of our family, our community, and everything. Uh, and the life went on. But now I embrace it. Now I live it out. Now I know the family's like, okay, just do your thing. It's okay. But they needed to adjust. I wanted them with me. I could have just gone but my life has changed so much during the last 10 years. It is from the normal 3D life, from living heaven on earth. And I, I couldn't imagine in my wildest fantasy that it could be just this glorious, fantastic. I had no, also, even though it was shown to me in 2013, it was shown to me actually. I had an epiphany and I didn't believe the epiphany, even though I had the experience. So it's like, okay, I didn't even believe in my own experience. So I understand people that are skeptical. So I'm glad I also have felt it being so skeptical coming from that paradigm.
Mhm. And how did you manage to get your family to this place to say you go and do your own thing?
I embody it more and more and more and more. So I just, I didn't, yeah, actually what you said, I stopped talking about it. I just became it. In the beginning, I tried to talk to it, look like this, and I tried to say, and the more I tried to say it with words, the more it kind of resistance from them. So we had a very hard time. So, and actually, I moved out of the house. So we had a very, but then they saw, okay, maybe it's not so dangerous, but I understand because for me also, they said, but can you control it, kind of? You cannot control being heaven on earth. You just be. So it's not controllable. So you have to go totally out of all the concept because I have had lists, as I have told you earlier, lists to do, to do, to do. I have lists still, but okay, maybe I do it tomorrow, maybe next year. I go
Maybe I
with
never
all.
do it.
Never, never. So it's, yeah. But what you said, I was kind of reborn when I was laid out in the sarcophagus. And last evening we had a commemoration call, and you mentioned my son committing suicide, and I had the experience now meeting him in another form. And I have spoken about this because I see him in another form. But when you said it with your words, it was like, oh, someone responded to that because I have spoken about it, but you gave me a perspective. And now I saw, yeah, this is a package of itself, a new form. He is a new boy, a little boy, even though I haven't met him physically, I know I will do. And this is kind of, wow, what a gift, what an experience that will
Mhm.
unfold. just because we see, of course, suicide and someone dying is tragic. It was the most painful I have gone through. But now, okay, I will meet him in another form, I know that this will bring so much happiness with it. So
I can't remember the words I used, but I noticed the picture behind you,
yeah,
and from what you'd said previously on another occasion, it sort of like triggered something for me to say something about
yeah,
that. And my wife, Solera, has also had a similar experience with her brother,
yeah,
who died a few years ago, just died on stage singing and uh, being the rock star that he was. And then she has the experience, the knowing, the actual conversation telepathically with him
yeah,
to say that he's coming back and being reborn again in another body.
yeah,
So this is it doesn't fly in the face of real belief, because people have had near-death experiences, and people have had these experiences of a presence being in the room with them,
mm,
or and automatically knowingness that this is somebody that they have known,
mm.
maybe in the family or a friend, and it can't be logically explained
No, we can't.
in the way that people think about life and death. But the fact that people have had these experiences, and that people go to psychics and mediums to have messages from people from the other side, means that they also have a belief in the afterlife,
Yes,
that there is a journeying that's been taking place, not too dissimilar from the Egyptians' idea about they'll place all these goods and possessions with the departed to assist them to go over to the afterlife. You know, these thoughts that we I say we as a species have had, marking divisions between living and then no longer living,
yeah,
sort of like are now veering off. It's no longer so distinct. There's a blurring
yeah,
actually about what is actually happening. And so therefore people are more willing, I believe, to accept something which is wildly outrageous on first hearing, but that they suddenly may want to know more and become accustomed to hearing about these episodes,
yeah.
and then take it that this is something which is tangible and part of reality of life
Mm.
as they know it. And what we're doing here is taking people into perhaps a bigger intake of breath to say there's um, there's actually a very strong possibility that you'll have an epiphany listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, and also one of the messages that losing someone you love, like losing your son, he activated the deepest sorrow, the deepest grief ever in my life. And at the same time, he also helped me really to open, because he communicated. He came through 1.5 days after he committed suicide and talked to me. And then I have never before experienced so much emotion, sadness and happiness. All it was so overwhelming that I fell on the floor. It's like I couldn't stand up, because the emotional explosion was wow. And wow, you're coming in so fast. It's and I talked to him. It's like, but I'm naked, because this happened in the shower. So the first thing I said, Alexander, I'm naked. And then I started to communicate, and then I fell down in the shower. So, and that was so supportive, because I had cried for 1.5 days. And then he came through, and then he guided me all the time. And then in the beginning in 2020, he said, I'm coming in physical form. Thank you. But I was hoping he would come as my grandchild, but he didn't. But anyhow, he comes, and as you say, I wanted to say that the biggest tragedy, it can look like this is the worst thing happening ever, and it was losing a child. I don't see that it isn't, but now, while I have accepted what it is, and I just go on and I meet him in another physical form. So it will never be the same form. I even though I talk to him still, and I know that we will meet, and I know there is a timing for everything. I really tried, as I have told you earlier, this summer, and I went into really trying to meet him because I know where he lives, but he don't live with his new biological parents. So they said no, they don't believe in this, so they stopped it. And I, okay, but I know that thing will happen, so I know I will meet him. But he have his path, and and he, I have learned so much from him since he passed in 2015, and we will continue on the journey together, learning from each other in new forms. And I'm also, as you said, new from when, yeah, from when he died in 2015. I'm another person. People that meet me now said, you are not the same person that you was until 2013. No, I'm not. So I'm newborn, reborn, and it's a new aspect, a new aspect all the time. It's like, and that has been kind of the hardest thing, I think, for the family, because they say, we never know where you go, what you do. So it's like I feel I'm like wild nature. I feel I'm like nature, just going with the wind and with the ocean and with the sun. So I just follow the nature, the rhythm of a flower and nature. So I feel that I am nature.
Mhm. I don't think we have a concept big enough
No,
to hold who we're becoming.
I agree. We don't have
So,
language. Yeah.
so we can't really talk about it with that type of authority. But as I said earlier, I don't think you really need to talk about it because the fact that you are being something that, well, for some people is wildly outrageous, a challenge, or something to be admired, or wow, a goddess in human form, however they might perceive it, it's the energy that does the talking.
Yeah.
It's what you're embodying that actually makes the changes in people.
Mm.
Um, the words will help because the words will contain the energy of what it is that you're embodying.
Yeah.
But, I don't talk very much about who I am, but I've written a few books, and I've put them into the fantasy genre because people will much more easily um, accept what is being written.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about things like this. I'm talking about telepathy. I'm talking about sentience.
Mm.
I'm talking about being in an age of greatness that you wake up perhaps one day and you know nothing. How do you cope?
Yeah.
You have this idea that, you have a knowing of things, but you don't know where that knowing comes from. You know things which you perhaps have the idea that something is going to happen, but you don't know the pathway to that.
Mm.
And then I think is things which people might think of as problematic, but we put it into terminology that says these things aren't problems that we're dealing with. How do you live as someone who is embodying godness or greatness or whatever you want to call it? We're not saying about how you live that. We're saying just accept it and be it
Yeah.
and be brilliant and be amazing and be wildly outrageous and be courageous in every sense of the word. Do things which you previously thought you couldn't do, but that something itches in you to say, go and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And we have a friend who lives in Glastonbury, a few miles away, and she was talking on this call with you and I yesterday about how she's going to stand in Glastonbury Town Hall and in the square, and she's going to sing a hippie song back from the 50s or 60s about the coming of the age of Aquarius. but really telling people that the age of Aquarius is here.
Yeah.
That the age of all the things that they've been wanting to, what they've been waiting for
Yeah.
and wanting to live into, that is here. And she's wondering about how can she do that? And they would say, just go and do it.
Yeah.
Just go down to the square, start singing. Glastonbury is a place in which people will not think that is weird. They will, if they know the song, join in with you.
Yeah.
There'll be somebody there with a guitar strumming along. There'll be people, who start to wave flags because on the town square there, they are waving flags for unity with Ukraine. You just have to accept that you are in a place of acceptance.
Yeah.
And it all just mushrooms from there.
Yeah, and it is actually heaven on earth, because several times when I go out of my body, when I want to create something, it happens instantly. And it feels like this is happening now in physicality. We are creating and it goes so fast, because earlier it takes days and months and years to create something, but now it's like juk, 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 juk. So it's like heaven on earth is really here. So if we want to create something, it happens juk. And it's wow. So to live in this lifetime is like wow. To really in this epoch, or what we call it, we are so, it's such a gift to experience being goddesses, just saying I want this to happen, this to happen.
And of course, you've had some experiences around that. So you can talk from experience.
Yeah, but now in 2024 it feels like it goes so much faster. But they say that when you get older, time goes faster. So maybe it's that, but it feels like wow. It goes so fast, and I just love the drive. It's like being in a, what do you call it, circus, or no, you call it Tivoli, amusement park. It's like going from one thing to another.
As you were talking, I was thinking of how people have the mindset of it's going to take years to perfect an activity, because that's been previous experiences. And do you have to follow a certain process to get there? And this is the process that you need to follow to get there. And we're saying that there isn't an achievable destination. There is something which is instantaneous. It's not a destination as such. And it doesn't take any time. But your resistance will make it seem as if it takes time, as if you have to go through a process. Anything that you put up as a barrier for you to say, I can't quite do it now because ... Or this is something which I don't think is possible for me because ... You see how people introduce the distance of space and time and the ability to be able to achieve something, or that it won't happen to them, but it happens to other people. Because
I have done it myself, so I completely understand it. When I went into being a regression and EFT therapist, I heard that other students who have done it, they went through their experience being birthed through their mother. They went back and sensing their birth experience, and I thought that will never happen to me. But a year later, I really experienced me being birthed, and that was wow. So just to have all this experience. But the hardest thing, because they called me a fish in therapy, I was a fish because my mind was so strong, I had so many concepts, so I tried to every time I kind of wanted to go beyond the mind, so the mind, it was so strong. So it's like, oh, you are a fish, you try to skip all the time. So I was so much in protective mode. Protect. So the mind wants to protect. Don't go on an experience. But it was there. I had a big opening and talking to God and Jesus and all that a lot of Christian people, even though I wasn't a Christian person, woman. So that led me into that because it was kind of the Christ consciousness. So we can also talk about it as Christ consciousness, as Buddha consciousness, or the mind of silence, where everything can be kind of just unfold.
I'm thinking that the next thing which might come up for people is we've been talking for a good 15 to 20 minutes now, and they're wondering what is it that they need to experience? What is it? Where will they have the experience to match what it is that we're talking about? How will they know they've had the experience? I'm going to suggest something.
Yeah.
That we allow people to have the experience as they're listening to this without directing them as to the steps, but that they allow themselves to be led in some way.
Yeah.
Not by us, but by which is waiting to take them into the experience.
Yeah.
So let's do this thing again. We're in alignment. We're part of something amazing. We are all of the amazing. You think of something that gives you joy, that puts a smile upon your face, that lights you up. And your senses align to that. You might taste it, smell it, feel it, sense it in some way. You might have a vision. There may be a change in temperature in the room. You may feel a surge of heat in your body. Your fingers, if you put them in the air, might start to tingle. And you might wonder at that. But something in you says, I want a little bit more. Show me. Give me the experience that I'm actually feeling that I really need in this moment. I want to be alive to it. I want to just expand myself so that it fills me completely. I am giving myself to it so that there are no barriers, nothing to limit who I can become. And the relaxation that you deepen yourself into just simply allows it to happen. Dropping all the pretenses. A feeling of total bliss. There might even be no thoughts whatsoever. You may notice that you dissolve, that the world dissolves. That time seems to stand still. And you're still breathing. And the trick for many people will be the constancy of living into it. And the feeling that the energy may come and go, come and go, come and go, but there's still a touchstone there. You have an amazing experience. You have it again and again and again until it becomes completely normal.
I really hope people felt it. I go into the light language very often when the first thing that often meet me is the light language. And I have found so much information and knowledge through the light language. So it's like, and all the light language are different. So I have spoken my language, like light language, and other have spoken there. And it's like, wow, then we are kind of flowing together. And it's like heaven on earth has the light language. For me, this is the reality. So I wanted to start to talk the light language as you guided, but it's like I talked it inside. Thank you, Santari, for taking us there, because it is an experience. And when you spoke about it, I have just I will start now in Norway the Divinity Reset program, and this is to embody it, because a lot of people, they have gone so many courses and there are no one concept. So this 13 weeks program, I know that there will be different people, because already a lot of people have said, I will go into this, I do it in Norwegian now, and I will do it now in 2025 in English. So it's the first time I do it, but now it will be kind of what I offer. The thing we are talking about, I bring it in a concept that isn't a concept, because what I say in the models is like, this might fit you, this might fit you. You have to find I'm making a workbook and so many ways to do it, because there are no one concept that fits all.
Mm-hmm.
But just to embody. And I have a lot of, as you know, to take people into experience, because when you had the experience, when you had the epiphany, then wow, it is actually another way of living.
So 2025, here we come.
Yeah, it will be an amazing year if we choose.
It already is.
It already is. It already is. Wow, I love this podcast.
So it's the first for 2025.
First of 2025. So it's like setting the year and knowing that we have a choice in everything we meet. Do we have the focus on all the surroundings, what's happening there, or do we come from the inside out, creating heaven on earth? In the midst of the storm, we can even create heaven on earth in the midst of a storm.
Once you're experiencing that, everything else just disappears.
Yeah. I just did it at my work. I was working night and it was crazy, and people, oh, sorry, you had to experience that, but I had an epiphany in the middle of the storm. And I didn't dare to tell them, because it was one of the best night work I ever done, but it was crazy. It was really crazy, but I had a big epiphany in it. So it's like, yeah. So it is, you said it's not about perspective, but I see it as perspective. Where do we come from? How we perceive, yeah.
Well, as you have probably said already, there's nothing that fits all people. We can talk about things in a certain way, but again, it's not the words, because sometimes the words aren't enough. the words can't adequately cover all that we want to say about what we're feeling, perhaps. But the energy with which we're embodying almost like translates for people in their own ways of thinking and perceiving so that they start to gain insights and inspirations and have the epiphanies and receive the guidance and the inner knowingness and everything else that we might talk about, which are ways of elevating our consciousness and to be something greater than we know that we are presently seeing ourselves as. But even so, we can't define too closely who we're being and what it is that we're experiencing, because that in turn will change and transform and morph and evolve and become something different. You are not the same as you were in 2013. You might talk about all the different experiences that you've had along that pathway, but it's not to say that any particular one was the moment, and that was, that who was you who you were being then is the defining thing that you needed to become.
Yeah.
It will never, ever be set in concrete. Cannot be set in concrete, must not be set in concrete.
Mm.
We are changing fast and rapidly. And the more that you accept that sense of change and that it can appear just like that, as you say, in an instant, you get something gifted to you or something in you just shows itself and you go, wow, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know it would come to me in such a fashion and that I had to let go of what I thought was precious and important and life sustaining because it was for that moment. But who you are is something which is really so much greater than what you're currently able to conceive of. And that I think is the fascination, that you don't know what is becoming, who you're becoming, what you're becoming, where it's taking you, how you're fitting into the world order, and how you might be changing the world order yourself because you're now an unlimited intelligence that somehow conspires with all the other creatures and beings in this world and perhaps beyond to show us something different that you've never seen before, witnessed, perceived, or imagined, or in any sort of sense or possible. But it will be.
The evolution is wow. Wow. The evolution of human now, it's like, yeah, it is really a quantum shift. It's one, earlier we saw the earth as flat and then it became round. It feels like the same shift is going on now because the mind, as we have thought about it, and the thoughts and all the being and all the construct we had to kind of surrender to, now it's surrendered to something complete bigness and sourceness, and knowing that we can actually be God's creators.
Mm.
That is my
all the perspective that you have about the earth, that it's this, but you don't really conceive that it's moving.
That's true.
And that it's changing all the time through space.
Yeah.
Things are happening to the earth all the time. All sorts of energies that perhaps you might not conceive of are happening to the earth. And so the earth itself is a changing conceptual being. So everything is up for change.
Yeah, we are stardust, just emanating stardust, goddess out.
And even that type of language is probably going to change too.
I know. there are kind of, but I remember first time I heard that we were started, oh no, I don't want to listen to that concept. But so everything is concept. So it's, but I wonder, I know that we in the future will communicate telepathically because I merge time. So I have been in the future and then we communicate telepathically, like a lot of people already do. So now we
We've
are,
been communicating telepathically during this conversation.
yeah, yeah. So, so it's like, well, the language was wasted. No, but we are so transparent. We try to hide so much. So it is stupid because we are actually naked. All people are naked. If you just sense their energy, you know. So it's like we are going kind of through a transformation, just being light, coming into the essence of us. Creating heaven on earth. I experience it. We are creating heaven on earth now. We are giving the power to create heaven on earth.
So when's your next workshop?
In Divinity Marie
In
said,
2025?
hopefully this springtime.
And you have a name for it?
Divinity Marie set. It is a reset. You go, you reset, and then when you have reset, you are the God source.
So you're going to be big, bold, and outrageous in proclaiming the nature of this workshop is.
Yeah, but as you said, it is we that puts all the limits. But when you have a lot of tools, as when I found you, I wanted to be sustainable and I wanted some tools. And you guided me, you take me on a journey. So now it's like, yeah, now I am sustainable. So now I can bring it out again because I could do it in 2020. I had courses before that also, but the last piece kind of being sustainable, and I didn't talk about this as heaven on earth, but now I talk about this at heaven on earth. But we can talk about, someone say, oh, it's being enlightened, it's being all this concept we talk about, but it's like, I don't, what do you call it?
I generally don't call it anything.
Yeah. The Tao, someone call it the Tao.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? The way.
But studying theology that I have done now, it has given me more language to put it on to, even though I'm not into one exact religious. I am religious because do you believe in the afterlife? That is kind of the religious understanding, but I'm not into one box concept kind of. I experience myself to be the all. I am the universe, I am the God, I am the creator, and I experience all other to be the universe, the creator, the Tao, the God, whatever they want to call themselves.
So that makes it easy for you to communicate with your son.
Yeah.
Who died and is now being reborn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Energy moving.
Yeah. So the shift, wow, 2025, 2026, 2027. I think this what we see in news and it will, the system that we have created, it will collapse. Every old stuff is collapsing. So it looks ugly, but if you just turn to the inside, everything is beautiful. So it's kind of, we are forced inside, or else we are stuck in our head and then we are dead. I was there myself, so it's like, I like Tony Robbins. He said, if you're stuck in your head, you're dead. And yeah, I agree. And I was there too. So I was kind of, I was surviving. Yeah, I was in the loop, just surviving, not living. I wasn't living. I was just in fear, even though I didn't know I was in fear. I did most of the thing just to survive, to survive, to survive. This normal pattern that I was programmed with. So I had to go out of the program, and like Neo in the Matrix, out of the program, living the divine matrix. I call this the divine matrix. But as we said, concept, no names needed. But thank you, Santari, for taking us on a journey. Are there any last words or for 2025 future?
I think the words that are going to come from the minds and understandings of the people who are listening to this podcast. And the world itself will be a different place in 2025. Amazingly so. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being here. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Divine Design podcast with Ann-Peggy Divine. You can follow divinedesign.it on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Join us next Sunday for another heaven on earth unfolding conversation. With grace, reverence, and unity, may the path of your divine design light the way. From the divine in us to the divine in you.